Hello, welcome back, and thank you for tuning in again to my channel. This is video log number 88, and today I am talking about, or want to talk about, procrastination and laziness and how to take some steps to overcome these two little afflictions that all of us experience, sometimes even daily. So yeah, let's get into it. So procrastination and laziness, realistically, or really, they are both habits. They are habits that we practice so much without even realizing, and become so good at repeating the pattern, i.e. making it a habit, that a lot of the times we forget about the fact that all it is just a habit, and we can drop it and replace it with something else, something new, something better. Now, I do also want to say that they are not 100% bad habits. So the reason for that being that procrastination and laziness, both as habits, can have their merits. So if I take the example of computer programming, for instance, there's an old saying that the best computer programmers are very lazy. The reason for that is that they like to reuse code, because if a piece of code or a software program or a function already works and it works very well, then why shouldn't you reuse it? So there's a lot of copy and paste that goes on, and people perceive that as being lazy, or perceive it as laziness, or the practice of laziness. But in that instance, being lazy is a good thing, because you're relying on and utilizing something that is tried and tested, and you know it's not going to fail. So rather than reinventing the wheel, rely on laziness and use what works. So there's that one. And procrastination, well, if you're in a position where critical thinking is key to you being able to deliver something positively, then it's probably in your best interest to actually take a step back and think about something, think about it again and again and again before you take action. But anyway, I don't want to go too deep into why these are not intrinsically bad habits. So procrastination and laziness both have many causes and consequences, and weirdly, the causes and consequences are very similar, in that for certain, let's say, actions that are being procrastinated, or certain things that trigger laziness, the cause that triggers the laziness can also be a consequence of the laziness or the procrastination. I can see myself getting tongue-tied saying that too many times. Some of the examples are fear, boredom, stress, guilt, and anxiety. So let's take anxiety for instance. I'm sure there are a lot of people who experience some sort of anticipational anxiety when they have to, say, make a phone call to someone that they don't know or haven't spoken to before, so a stranger essentially. You get that sort of or jitters about having to call them, and then in some cases you put it off, and the thing is, putting off making that phone call then creates more anxiety, because you're not communicating what it is that you need to communicate, the reason for making the phone call in the first place. So yeah, some of the causes and consequences can be similar, or a cause could be unrelated to a consequence, whatever, that there's almost limitless combinations. Yeah, essentially. 2 seconds. Got some cherry and cinnamon tea. Very aromatic. So, what I want to cover here are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sort of beginner steps for overcoming these two bad habits. Like I said, they're not intrinsically bad habits, but in this instance, if you want to improve yourself, if you want to take action, if you want to go and do more, if you want to be a better you, then yes, they are bad habits, and you should probably start working on kicking them to the curb. So, number one is understanding the cause. So, what causes you to be lazy? What causes you to sit back and get lost in procrastinating, thinking about something, overthinking about something? A lot of the times, it can well be a nonsensical cause or reason. So you have to ask yourself, is what I'm experiencing rational? Is it that I've got an irrational fear of doing A, B, or C, or whatever? So it comes down to just having to take that logical step in analysing what it is that you're physically doing and why you're not doing it. Because if you were to write the problem out on paper, does it seem like that big of a problem? So again, I'll use the example of having to communicate with someone that you don't know, a stranger. Now, in your head, you're probably making it sound 10 times worse or feel 10 times worse than it actually is. Now, if you were to just write down that problem on a piece of paper, as in you identify fully what it is that you're feeling, what it is that you don't want to do, it's going to sound silly once you read it back to yourself. Just like writing down the fact that you're, say, scared to pick up the phone and call a number and talk to someone. Like, that seems like such a simple thing, but I know for a lot of people that is a genuine source of anxiety. So, step one, ask yourself, is this a logical thing to be afraid of? And take it from there. Slight step in a different direction, and this is more for the laziness side of things, is to eliminate distraction. So a lot of laziness, or a lot of what triggers the laziness habit, isn't your lack of willingness to do something. It comes down to you being distracted, seeing something else, going to do something else, and being pulled away from what it is that you're supposed to be doing, and then getting caught up for several minutes, hours, or in some cases days, doing something that you either shouldn't be doing or could have spent that time doing something completely different and more productive and something better for yourself. So I'm not going to go into details about distraction because they are obvious, they are abundant, they are everywhere. You just have to take it upon yourself to identify those distractions, move them away, move them to the side, or even remove yourself from the environment. Go do or work somewhere else. I know a lot of people say that your mobile phone is a distraction because of all social media and that. Fair enough. I know I can get distracted, but I don't see that as a distraction for myself because I use it for work and communicating on many, many different levels. So, distractions are not just technology. It can be anything. It can literally be a neighbour, maybe like a shopping addiction, anything like that. Like I said, I'm not going to go into details. I already am. Point number 3, or step number 3, is to set small daily goals. It don't have to be daily, it could be weekly goals, but daily goals work better, because that means you'll set them even smaller, more achievable, almost like a to-do list. It's good to keep a daily to-do list, because then every time you do find yourself getting distracted or procrastinating about what to do or when to do something, you can just refer back to that list and you have guidance there for what you need to do. You know, the next unticked item is the next thing to do, so go and do it and tick it off. Simple as that. Keep a list. Point number 4 is to work on creating for yourself a positive mindset shift. Now, this is tough, and this is tough and will take a lot of practice. It builds on discipline and builds new habits. 2 very good practices for generating or creating a positive mindset is using affirmations and visualizations. These 2 things can really help you completely change your mind about what it is that you do every day, how you behave, who you are and what you are as a person, and what you need to do to get where you want to be. So affirmations, visualizations, 2 very important practices, new habits that you should be working on. Point number 5 is to set deadlines. So similar to the small daily goals, you need to set yourself specific deadlines for a lot of these things, especially the ones that cause the biggest amounts of anxiety or fear or guilt or whatever. What I mean by a deadline is, if you need to do something simple like make a phone call, set yourself a deadline of 10 a.m. If you know you get up at 7 o'clock in the morning, that gives you 3 hours to do what it is you need to do and then make that phone call. Or if you need to send an email, give yourself a deadline of, let's call it 12 o'clock to send an email by. Plenty of time. And keep in mind as well that not all emails need to be lengthy, drawn out, fully explained pieces of literature. They can just be a quick one-liner and they will get the point across. One thing that I do a lot with this when it comes to making phone calls and sending emails and stuff, partially as a reminder but also to make sure that I actually do them in a timely manner, is in my work calendar, as in the same way that I would book in work on dates with times to go and see clients, if I need to make phone calls and emails and stuff, that especially if they're very important, I will actually book them into my calendar as if it's a job. So if I need to speak to a certain client, I'll say to them, okay, I'm going to call you between these times, and I will set myself a time, say 15-20 minutes after the start time I told them, and I will put that as a like an active task that I need to do. It's going to pop up on my phone, it's going to be there, it's going to be reminding me that it needs to be done. Same for emails, or like getting quotes done, anything like that. So yeah, set deadlines, and it kind of makes it easier, because not everything, but when you've got a deadline, then because you start thinking about the fact that, okay, by 10 o'clock I'm going to have already done that, so I'll be sort of freed up to go and do something else after that. So it gives you that motivation to go and just get it done. So double whammy. And then the 6th point here is celebration time. So when you do hit these little goals, every time you do tick off something from your to-do list, or every time you have notably taken action to not procrastinate, to not be lazy, reward yourself. It can be something as simple as going to make a cup of coffee, or going for a 5-minute walk, or if you've knocked off 3 or 4 things from your list, go to the gym, go for a drive, go buy a cake, celebrate the fact that you are taking action to becoming a better you. Right, yeah, that's all it is. Video 88, done and dusted. I hope you've learned something from that. You know, hope it's been informative for you. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. Anything you like or disliked, leave a comment down below. And tune in again tomorrow for some more. Who knows what I'll present, dig out, or talk about then. You'll have to tune back in tomorrow to find out. Until then, have a great day.